What's up, everybody? Welcome, welcome. I usually have some music in the background that gets me in the mood, but
Nothing today?
no, nothing today. I haven't spent the time to differentiate music from other desktop audio yet. So
Oh, same. I
when
have
I
not at all.
yeah, so when I have guests on, we just keep it all muted until we're ready. Yeah.
I had a solution for that for the 24-hour stream,
Yeah.
and I've forgotten it entirely.
We used at Aquinas we used Voice Meter, which was like a digital
Yeah.
soundboard. It takes so much time and it's always the cause of issues. So
It
yeah,
and it's always active when you don't want it to be, and something's always not right.
right, right. It's nice, but it's also really finicky. Uh, but yeah. Well, welcome back to the stream. Repeat offender here. Uh, I'm assuming most people know who you are, but I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself again and give us your quick spiel.
I've actually added 2 new organizations since we last
Oh
talked.
my, stop it.
Okay, so
Uh,
hi, I'm Cora Kennedy. I'm the director of esports at Illinois Wesleyan, hence the beautiful office behind me. I also serve as one of the directors for the Illinois High School Esports Association, a director for the Voice of Collegiate Esports. I do DEI for the NECC, and I also just joined as org dev and media for Ecstasy Esports, a women's Valorant organization.
nice. That's awesome. Yeah, that's like 3 new titles since we last talked. Because the voice thing happened after, which I'm
Yeah.
excited to see. But NECC I didn't even hear about until today, and then the last thing, same thing. That's awesome.
NECC is still in the works. I was added to staff a while ago. We're still working on where I want to fit in. And then the Ecstasy stuff, I joined them last Tuesday.
Nice. So fresh off the press.
I'm doing a lot of org dev for them because they're all really green. Actually, some of them are other collegiate players at various universities who are really interested in Valorant, running this huge, amazing women's Valorant org. And I saw it, I'm like, I want to get involved and I want to help, and they're all amazing. And I
Nice.
want to be involved, and like they're all such wonderful people, so it's just so much fun to be involved and see a lot of the rookie mistakes that I made when I was trying to run an org and help them avoid them.
That's fair. I was gonna ask, like, do you let them learn through mistakes, or do you
I
save
let
them
a
from
meeting
that?
last night. I let a meeting last night be a bit rough, but
Okay,
then we got it sorted out, and it was great.
that's awesome.
And I gave some ideas and stuff this morning, and thoughts about, hey, here's some things you can improve, and it's went very well.
Cool. That's awesome. Sweet. Well, we're talking kind of about that stuff today. We're talking about DEI, and if you don't know what that is, first of all, you're in the wrong line of work. But second,
Yeah.
diversity, equity, and inclusion, and a lot of it is it's going to be centered around this. I don't even what's it called. Voice calls it an editorial. I thought it was a white paper, although I don't even know what a white paper means.
I don't
Uh,
either.
so what do you describe it as?
Um, I call it just genuinely. It was just a piece I was working on
Huh.
around DEI, and then I joined Voice right at the time I was writing it, and I'm like, I mean, I need a place to publish this.
Nice.
Sure, and it worked out very well. But it's an editorial. It is not a full research based thing. There's no committee. There's no huge group of people who are working on it. I had like an army of proofreaders, but
Yeah,
all the
I saw
content's
that.
mine. Yeah, I had an army of proofreaders. Now the paper was the generation that was hilarious to me because I wrote it in a day.
You wait,
Essentially, I had
wait. You wrote this entire thing in a day?
yes,
Oh my
or actually
word.
3 hours, but I basically had an idea the Tuesday night before Gateway, and I went, I got nothing else to do this week besides everything. Okay, let's go write this on Wednesday night, and 6 to 10 p.m. I wrote the whole thing, and then I had to get touch ups and edits, and I sent to friends and got them all suggestions and stuff. But like, it was edited throughout the whole period.
This is this was really well written, especially for a 3-hour project.
Yeah, I
I
mean, I
wish I
touch
could
up
churn this out in
things.
3 hours. Anything
I
like
spent
this.
probably another like 3 hours editing it and touching things up and making comments and suggestions, and I did a lot of rewrites on tone and style because I wanted this not to come off as preaching. I didn't want to come off as first person experience. I wanted to talk more in general experiences, and I think I did.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about this in like a couple different aspects. Let's start with what advice or what caveats would you share to someone who's thinking about reading it or hasn't read it yet,
Um,
or reasons why they should read it?
uh, that's a lot of questions. So I think
Sorry.
the first place to start is that it's not a call-out post. I'm not writing this to call anyone. I'm not saying that these programs are like X program is doing things wrong. I don't know every program well enough to do that. I don't know the inner workings or the thoughts behind their decisions or motivations or anything. It's highlighting issues that I've noticed and how I want to address them going forward. And in full transparency, I'm not perfect. There's a lot of aspects to this that are me calling myself out. I'm very much calling myself out and writing this too, and the thoughts that I've had to deal with and problems that I've been struggling with as well.
Yeah.
And so it was half me talking to myself. And I think that that's why it came off really approachable, because it was me kind of talking myself down from things.
I would agree. I think you did a really good job at speaking that way. I was just talking to another director earlier today when I was talking about who I was having on, that they had not read it yet, and I had said that oftentimes when I go into reading things about DEI, I for some reason automatically go in a defensive stance, and I know that's probably wrong, but as a cis white male, we're usually the ones who are to blame for all of this, rightfully so. And yeah, I just kind of went in defensive, and as I kept going through the paper, I was like, wow, this is so good. Like this is like
I really appreciate that.
it's not something I need to be defensive about. Like this is true. Like and I found myself relating directly to some of your experiences of as a director, and like, oh yeah, I'm really doing that really badly, or yeah, I could do better at this, or things of that sort. And I think you really hit the nail on the head when it comes to that type of
Yeah.
way of
And like
writing.
one thing I struggle with in writing it and when talking about DEI is not burning myself at the stake, not just
Yeah,
cruise myself over, hey, I've done this wrong, and overly humbling myself, the way to phrase it, where I just want to talk about things that I've been working on, things I've been dealing with, and ways I've stumbled. Because humanizing the struggles and not making it this, you are bad if you can't do this. That's my biggest fear with writing this, that I was really afraid of, is like just saying you are bad if you don't do this. No, it just means we need to have places to grow. And there's definitely places to grow and ways to improve and things to improve upon. And like an example of one that I couldn't quite fit in the paper was we held two women in non-binary gaming nights last school year in our facility. Basically, we closed the basement to the other student population and just said, let's go do women in non-binary gaming. And they had awful turnout and really last second planning. And I've been thinking a lot about those over the summer and how I'd address them and how I want to move forward on them. And so I already have in my Google Calendar for the next year, I have 3 or 4 dates outlined. I have a 1 month lead time on prepping for them, including prepping, start prep essentially of socials and reservations and getting the word out and all that stuff, and getting involved with the community that would want to attend it. I have been planning more rigidly the content side of it, because last year was just kind of like a free night, and that didn't seem to draw a lot of people. So I'm going to plan more content inside of that, and all these things. And then I'm also, this is a personal experience thing, but also engaging myself with the campus community, because I think esports directors a lot of times are very sectionalized in their bubble of their department, or the department that owns them, rather, where a lot of directors don't interact with anything outside the department that owns them. For example, I'm owned by Division of Student Affairs. Adam, are you owned by athletics?
yes. Actually, technically, I'm under athletics and student affairs. I report to
Oh,
both,
cool.
but
You're,
varsity's under
you're,
athletics.
you're being time shared. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Correct. That's one way to put it.
Yeah. And so, but like commonly directors don't go outside of their bubble of their department, their ownership department. Whereas something that I'm striving to do, and this is something I'm a unique spot to do to give my identity, is I am working on. Sorry, someone's at my door real quick. Um,
Fine.
no. I'm working on getting involved with the dorms And because there's a community in the dorms that's the Pride floor, and
Okay.
I can very easily get involved in that as a staff mentor. But like just doing general things on campus, something my dean of students talking about today is having directors from other departments show up at events on campus that are not in their department. And it's not just showing up and being seen; it's being engaged and showing the student community that you care. And I think at the core of a lot of DEI work as well is just showing students and living it that you care.
Right. Right. And a big chunk of the paper hit me right in the stomach, because it talked about us directors and being more welcoming at events. And I'm not super social. Like I talk to people.
What a lie, Adam. Okay.
Most people come up to talk to me at this point. All right.
Okay, fair,
and I was
fair.
just about to go in the NACE convention, and it really, I went into the NACE convention like the entire time thinking like, all right, who am I talking to right now? Who isn't being talked to, or who haven't I talked to? And it made the whole event much more. I can't think of the word, but like really, really oriented towards trying to find people that I haven't talked to before or who I wouldn't normally talk to. But you even called out like there's a director who went to DreamHack, and I was like, oh crap, I was at DreamHack, and I really struggled to try to, I guess, when you're at this event being called out, and you're trying to figure out like, all right, what did I do wrong? Who could this possibly have been? The first thing was like at after parties. I'm like, oh, I was not at any after parties. But then it just like the event in general, and I'm like, I probably am totally guilty of it, but like I just didn't. It wasn't even like something I was thinking about, and that has now shifted since reading the paper already.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, it's like now it's like the forefront of my mind. Are who do I need to talk to?
And I don't want this to be like this some huge burden of like, oh, I need to talk to these new people. But it's just occasionally look at the room in the room and say, who have I talked to? Because us as directors, there's people that will always want to talk with us, but we also should make our own network and people that we want to talk to and how we want to talk to them. I wrote that whole piece, and then before it was edited, I went to Gateway. And I made a point of bringing up DEI topics at Gateway constantly with directors. And directors and coaches and high school coaches and everyone. And I got some funny looks. But in the end, I broadened who I talked to and made some connections and new faces. And while, yes, the connections and new faces are great for business and great for advancing myself as a professional, it's not the only thing. It's just being a resource to others.
Yeah. I think what was interesting,
go ahead.
When you referred to the networking and kind of the calling out of the networking, when I think of networking, it's always like, what positive am I going to get out of it? Like that's what everyone's like. You got to network. You got to network. You never know where you're going to get your next job. You never know what kind of connection you're going to make. But you've framed it in a way of who are you? Who can you help? Or like who can you welcome in instead of how can I advance myself? And I don't, for some reason, I've never thought of networking that way. And I don't know. It
was a series of thoughts I had a lot going into Gateway last year, because that was my literal first day on the job.
Yeah.
July 1st, 2021 was Gateway Day 1, and it was my first day on the job, and I was shell-shocked. I was absolutely shell-shocked.
Just a glaze. I think I remember asking, like, how's it going? You're like, I don't know. It's my first day. I'm like, okay, that sounds fun.
I learned a lot that weekend. But in general, like, just all the people who were willing to talk with me, and there were directors who weren't.
Yeah.
Like, I get that. But people who were willing to talk with me really helped me feel welcome in the space.
Right.
And I had a leg up. At the time, I was not from a marginalized identity. So people are more willing to talk to you. Whereas if I was brand new to the space now, I don't want to hazard to guess how that would turn out.
Right.
Because it's this whole issue of marginalized identities are ignored more often, which is proven statistically. But in a space as tight-knit as ours, that can't be acceptable. And so I'm not saying everyone has to be this champion for everything, but it's a mission I have because I think it's important to show others that people are here.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I think it's so. I mean, in my own experience entering the space, and there are certain directors who are just super welcoming and made everything so much easier. And it would hurt me emotionally to know that I had that opportunity to do the same to other directors and I missed that opportunity, or even worse, like I'd made their experience at an event or in general in esports worse because I did not acknowledge them or say hi. So I felt called out, but I knew from your writing that you were calling yourself out, but also like just creating a general conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the whole goal of this thing was just general conversation because it should be a conversation. It should be people talking about it. And I also acknowledge the paper that like networking isn't for everyone.
Right.
There are people who are not very social, and the people who don't want to go and talk to someone, and the people who want to talk to everyone. And there has to be not say a happy medium, but both sides have to acknowledge that the other exists and find a compromise with them. The introverts should make time to talk in some capacity, and the extroverts should make time to shut up and not talk in some capacity.
Yeah.
Because it's important to have everyone be able to engage in the conversation.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, that was an interesting thing you talked about too. Is you talked about there are some people who might not want to be talked to, and they're fine on their own. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of me, but I feel like obligated that I have to. Like, when you
Well,
get
it's
to
also because you're well known enough.
yeah, when you get to a certain point, I mean, like anyone who's been at events and like has talked to people, like those people that you've talked to want to come talk to you again. So like, there's kind of an obligation for all of us who have made some friends to like be social, and then yeah, even though
It
like
was so
yeah,
funny for me at Gateway that like people commonly hide behind, oh, no one knows what I look like really because I haven't seen you in person. Well, everyone knows me as Cora, that person with the purple hair. And so I had someone stop me at the event who I'd never even heard of, and like now we're great friends. And they stop me. Wait, are you Cora? I'm like, hi.
the other
How do
one
I
with
know
purple hair.
you? Oh, it's the purple hair. Oh, how do I know you?
Yeah.
Or like at Venom, the all women's Valorant LAN that I ran with Lindsay last month, which was
Yeah.
awesome by the way. I love that event. The bartender at the event was one of the workers at Game Arena, and she's like, "Oh, I follow you on Twitter." I'm like,
Oh, nice.
"Who are you?"
That's cool.
Hi. How do you know my name? She's like, "Oh, it's the purple hair." Oh, okay. So it's just funny, Penny Cash. I promise, I'm not calling you out. That Gateway post is not about you. That Gateway story is not about you. It was someone else. It was someone else.
There's
I promise
other
you.
people coming up randomly to you. Interesting.
So Penny Cash messaged me a couple days ago talking about some stuff too, and so like, I'm sorry, it's not about you.
That's funny.
Sean, I know you. But just the event as a whole was awesome to see everyone again and have this whole event and see people in the community. And it was a smaller collegiate community this year, so the atmosphere was different.
Yeah.
Because there was only 8 collegiate teams. And so
It's true. Right.
So there were directors there who I wanted to talk to, I couldn't.
Yeah.
Because they just weren't there. But the ones who were there, I had some great conversations. But I spent a lot of my time talking to non-directors. I think it's another thing that directors don't do very often.
No, who else is there to talk to? Who I already have social anxiety talking to directors. Now,
well,
I
for
actually
me,
was
the
talking.
majority of my friends were like we're all like production people and people on the backside.
Oh, that's fair.
Dakar, Tori, Ashley, all of them are Axman, Adam. All of them are non-directors who I'm just really good friends with.
That's fair.
And that's a unique case for me because I also was stuck with Sean the entire weekend.
Nice.
That's a unique case for me because I'm friends with all of them. But that's not the case for everyone.
That's fair.
But just talking with like coaches.
I don't know. I was just talking to my wife this weekend because I don't think my boss watches these, but we go to the same church as my boss, and we saw him at church, and we started talking. And I walked away from the conversation like, Carly, I am awkward, like socially. If I can't talk about esports or like business, like anything else, I stumble. I can't speak like a normal human. It's bad. I don't know if you have that experience or not, but I'm
I
super
I
awkward.
like that I can have a conversation about anything. I just really enjoy that.
I'm jealous. That is something that I do not have the ability to do, or at least don't think I have the ability to do. Yeah. So what about people who have read it at this point? Where's the conversation go from here on out?
Um, uh, I mean, I'm writing a second paper right now.
About
Uh,
this topic?
Similar.
Okay.
So something when I was writing this paper initially, I had, like I said, this whole big list of ideas I wrote down on a Tuesday night, and I had to go back and write it on a Wednesday. And my delusional state, I put like 3 papers worth of ideas in that document. I'm like, I can't fit all of that in there. So what I did is I had to cut some content. Obviously, there's things I had to cut, the things that I just couldn't fit. And one of them was talking about being a resource for students, because a lot of this conversation about equity is coming to a table and being there for students. Well, what does being there for students mean? And how do we do it, and in what ways it manifests itself, and how can we approach it? And so I'm about halfway through right now, about halfway, writing a paper talking about redefining how we are all resources to students, and what that looks like. Because being a resource can mean a lot of things.
Yeah.
But in essence, we're all, whether we have education backgrounds or not, which both you and I do have education backgrounds,
Yeah.
but for the ones who don't, we're still all educators in some capacity, and we all mentor students in some capacity. Some people don't need it, but some people do. And so it's how to be a mentor for those students on a lot of capacities, whether it be mental health, which is something I speak very strongly on, given my experience, whether it be emotional and relationship stuff with just either romantic relationships or just interpersonal things. Resolving conflict among teammates is a thing you and I commonly deal with.
Yeah.
Just adulting. I had a student ask me how to use a washer.
All right.
I got to teach them.
That's fair.
Life advice and life path. We're the nearest adult students have to them. And so they come to us with a lot of ideas and like, hey, this is something I'm struggling with. Can we talk about it? And I know that not every director is able or willing to engage in those conversations. I know it's not something expected of everyone, at all. But for the ones who can, it's meaningful.
I think I'm in the boat of I'm willing to, but I don't come across as welcoming to that conversation as some other people. Like I feel like I'm not as warm and welcoming as some of my other director counterparts across the country, such as yourself. Like, and that's in my personal life too. It's like I'm not the person people come to with their problems. I'm the person who they come to when they have a finance question or a business question.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Adam is scared his players in chat there, Lamel. I mean, the concept behind it is what I'm going to coin the term. I'm pretty sure it's out there somewhere. Controlled vulnerability.
Okay.
Where the way I make connections. This is leading on my experience as a high school teacher, because a lot of my building blocks for doing this came from teaching high school and building a lot of emotional connections there, because I had students who needed a mentor there.
Right.
And I was the only one they had. And so it's controlled vulnerability of I will reveal appropriately vulnerable things to my students about my past to help build a connection of I have a similar experience. Let's talk about it.
That's cool. Yeah. There was another director I was just on a call with earlier today about, and it came up that that there aren't a ton of resources or like how-tos on how to support students who might be struggling with some mental health stuff or even like their gender identity stuff. It's like we acknowledge it and we know it's there, but we don't know how to support that. Or like besides maybe there's a counselor on campus.
I actually hadn't thought about putting gender and sexuality in my paper. One sec. Okay. I keep writing ideas down as we speak. You done it to yourself. And so, like, how to talk about these things is hard when you have the experience.
Right.
It's harder when you don't.
I was just talking to another director today about that. Of like, he's more afraid of being canceled than when he's trying to figure out like he was talking about how he's been very sheltered. He doesn't know like even like the pronoun stuff and even like basic stuff. But he has no one to ask because like he just has no connections that are more than all right. I'll send them to you.
Seriously,
But
seriously, I
but
am
like
so happy to talk with anyone, and but I get that. There's this
yeah.
whole like lack of resources on how do I approach this? What do I say? What can I say? What's comforting? Because a lot of times, what I struggled with my first year as a teacher was, what can I say that doesn't come off as high and mighty? What can I say that comes off as down to earth, but still helpful, but still guiding?
Right. Right.
Because if I just say, oh, my mental shit too, bro, that's not helpful.
Yeah, and I've been fortunate. My sister is openly gay, and she and her now wife have called me out on all my BS the last couple of years, and I am not even allowed to say anything offensive anywhere. So I have been taught, I have been educated to an extent. I don't know everything, but I'm imagining there are plenty of other directors who do not have that type of resource.
And so part of the writing the paper then is going to be that whole resource as well, because I really enjoy that I can be that person for so many students. Like after the last time I was on here, I had like 3 or 4 directors contact me saying, "Hey, I have a student who identifies as such and such. Can you talk with them?"
Yeah.
And I love that. I have my small cult, and they're mine. I love my kids,
Yeah.
and I'm happy that I can be there for them. Some are really close to me now too, but if I can give more directors resources for that to engage in those conversations on their own, I will.
Right.
And it starts with just like coming to terms with the fact that I don't have this identity, but I'm here for the student first. A statement that I'll be saying in my paper that I need to fit a phrase for somewhere is, if you don't care about students first, you shouldn't be here.
Mm. Yeah.
Simple as that. Like if students are not your first priority in everything and every thought and every decision you make, you shouldn't be here.
Yeah. Why
yes,
would you
esports
be here?
is great.
You can go make money elsewhere, more money.
Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, I completely agree.
It's yes, there's more jobs in collegiate than there are in amateur. But collegiate means the students are here, and I call them my kids because they're my kids. My kids come first. A guiding thought that was kind of imprinted on me by my first principal was this thought of every single thought you have should end with the statement, is this good for students? Not is it good for you, not is it going to make your life easier, is it good for students? If not, don't do it. If it is, great, go. That's why I got my esports program started the second day I taught.
Yeah.
Because I could make a convincing value argument that it was good for students. And he was, cool, go. That's it. And that's a principle that I live by too. Because it's meaningful.
Simple. It gets more complicated when you start factoring how much time you have, but it's a good question. If anyone has any questions in chat, feel free to throw them in. If you've never been to the show or watched the show, it's pretty casual. So feel free to throw any in. What do you think, looking back on the publishing of this paper, what major things do you, are there anything that you think what you missed or should have been added?
So as I was writing this, I had a thought about, I don't want to be too prescriptive with how I go about saying how to fix these things, because everyone's situation is different. Yeah. Every school is different, every team's different, every program's different. But I don't think I was prescriptive enough in some capacities, where I think I could have talked more about, hey, here's things that I can do, here's things that you can do as a program, in a very generalized sense still, but more specifics on what people can do to be that person for their students, to create a more equitable environment.
Right. That's what I want. I always leave DEI and women in esports panels. That's what wanting that. I'm like, yes, I know I have a problem. I know we're not doing everything perfect, but like, what specifically can I do? And I know there's been some backlash on that, on like, if you're asking that question, you're not doing enough, or like that shouldn't be the focus.
That's not a healthy answer, though.
I would, yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at, is like, what specifically can I do? And yes, it's going to vary by program, but like, can someone give me step-by-steps of like, hey, this is something you should start, or this is a conversation you should have with these students, or like,
I mean, I can go through that now, actually.
Yeah, that'd be
great. Because I'm also working on, separately, another publication uh, where I want to create a toolkit for celebrating diverse identities in your program. Not geared towards any one identity or any one event, but more the ideas and guiding thoughts behind what you should be doing, and then that can help you determine what you want to do.
Okay.
So the first question really is like identify a student population you want to serve and who is in it in your program and outside your program too. Are most people you're going to serve inside your program, outside your program, just general student population? Who? Second, is it performative? Is this just something you're doing to look good? I really, really, really don't like how a lot of DEI initiatives in collegiate, of the ones that exist, which are very few, are performative.
Yeah.
Where they're made to give themselves a pat on the back and go, woo, yay me, and then that's it.
Right.
And yay me is all well and good, but yay me doesn't do anything. So, and I'm not saying this not to target any program. Like, I'm not targeting someone. I'm just saying this is generalized thoughts. And so, avoiding being performative and really analyzing it yourself and saying, am I being performative? Don't go easy on yourself. Because, as I mentioned in the paper, like, people who are from that community will see straight through you.
Right.
I loved all the Pride Month crap from esports. Oh my god, it was funny. It was so funny to see, just like you and I can see through companies slinging buzzwords at us,
Yeah.
like that email I should get yesterday. We can, like, people in any community can see through an initiative and say, oh, this is for clout.
Right.
Groups who pop out of the woodwork for Pride Month only, look at buy our stuff, and then go back to nowhere.
Right. Yeah. If your program's Twitter profile changes to Pride Month theme, but students in that community don't feel welcome every other month of the year, there's a problem.
And like, I also hate that the usual, like, oh, July 1st, the logos go back to normal. And so I made a post on my Twitter of like, for every day that I get a hate comment, I'm leaving it up. And it was true. I went for another 22 days, I think.
Oh my gosh.
I get DM slurs every now and then. It's fun.
Wow.
Get called heinous things. When I posted my tattoo on Reddit, I got sent the word "roped" 42 times.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
And the thing is, like, I can brush that off because when it's some random on the internet, I don't care.
Yeah.
When it's someone I care about, it's harder. But for some random, I don't care. But like, just being visible, and the biggest thing is visibility, and showing people that you care. And the way you show someone you care is just being genuine about it. Whenever a student of mine is struggling, I sit down and I message them individually and go, hey, what's going on? What can I help with? And I don't. This is a big thing I've noticed a lot of people is they give advice right away. Of, here's what I would do in your situation. That's not what people are looking for most of the time. So when situations come up where someone's struggling, like with mental health or their identity or whatever, I always ask first, like somewhere, not first, but somewhere near the start, like, would you rather I empathize with you and kind of walk you through your emotions right now, or would you rather some ideas? Because that way they get control over what you're giving them. Because people just want someone to talk to, and if they want someone to talk to, they want one of two things: their ideas or empathy. But a lot of times, unless you know them really well, like you are married to them or they're your sibling, you can't read that.
Right.
So you have to ask, and asking's okay. And that's the biggest thing as well, is asking's okay. I think when I go to talk about with other directors or in my next paper about like how to service community you're not a part of, asking's okay. I want to celebrate Pride Month more in the program, even though it's in June and we're already out of session. I want to celebrate Heritage Months. A very close friend of mine got hired as the assistant director of ODI here at Wesleyan, Office of Diversity and Inclusion, and I want to work with her and ODI about events they're doing. And I'm not going to sit there and act like I know what the communities want and what the events they want. I'm just going to say, hey, what can we do? Let's make some ideas.
Right.
So it's willing to be a listener as much as a leader, I guess.
That's awesome. There's a question here. How do you tell the difference between programs that are only only to look good with no actual performative change and the ones that actually care?
Um, it's a case by case basis, but some general things to look for, I think, is one, a history uh, of being supportive of those communities. For example, like I'm gonna keep calling out Caitlin because I love her. Caitlin Teniente over at St. Mary's in Texas. I love her to death. She was just here a couple weeks ago. She Her program makes a huge Pride Month or Pride Month, Women's History Month post every year, and like a series of posts with all other players who are women. And it's fantastic, and I love it. And I know it's not performative because it's person first.
Right. Okay.
It's not here. Look at the identity they are. It's here's this awesome person. They're celebrating the person and not the thing they represent. I think it's a better way to put it. Then is you're celebrating the person and the people behind initiatives and not the things that are representative of them.
That makes sense. It's a different way of framing it. Yeah, I like it. It's yeah. And you can tell by her program and who runs it. It's like they are, I think all their staff are women. So like, it's
yeah,
not just
their whole staff's women and non-binary. I mean, for my program, I like for Pride Month was my biggest example because the flag behind me.
Right.
I started selling our Pride jerseys like late November. The way I can tell Pride stuff performative is when it's only out for June. That's it.
Yeah.
No. Instead, what I do is I sold that for the entire month, or for the entire year. I donated to the Trevor Project out of my own money for every jersey sold for the entire spring semester. I run a 24-hour stream. I live the ideals that I preach. While I've made mistakes and I've slipped up, and there's ways that I have fumbled handling situations, and there's situations where I've handled it I'm not very happy with. I always leave those situations with, hey, I want to do this better next time. Here's what I'm going to do.
Cool. What else? Anything else you want to talk about from a DEI perspective? Because I want to also talk about Heatfest with you. So far.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay.
I guess like the last thing is directors and anyone who works in collegiate or just works in esports in any capacity that has people they mentor. Think about how much of an impact you have as a mentor, and think about it in a positive light. People always say like, "Oh, I don't mean much to these people." You really do. Some of my high school students still talk to me. One of them calls me mom. It's adorable, and the conversation behind it is these people care about you more than you think they do. So reciprocate that. I'm not saying you have to like run up and hug them every day, but just being a genuine person and not trying to hide your beliefs and statements behind a wall of professionalism. Yes, there's a time and place for professionalism, but casual conversation, isn't it? Adam, I'm sure you have conversations with players that are more than just strictly professional.
Yes, we do.
And the line of strict professional is also very different for us.
Yeah.
So allow those conversations to happen, but also allow the professional side to happen. It's understanding that a mix will be there and that both are valuable.
That's fair. I like it.
There we go.
I really like it. I'm really excited. Timeline on the next paper.
Okay. Well, there's some unannounced things happening with voice next month.
Okay.
That kind of require that paper be finished.
Okay. So in the next month.
I have some time on my calendar this week to go finish writing it. I'm about halfway through. I can show you the introduction later. And then I need to get it edited and published.
Awesome. That's exciting. I'm excited.
Work in progress.
Like I said, like if you're in the chat and have not read this yet, like highly recommend. Like it's worth the read. I promise.
Thank you, Adam. I really appreciate it.
No, you sent me and I'm like, first look, I'm like, oh, this is long. And then I'm like, I'll have to put some time in later on. And I read it. I truly enjoyed it. I really did. It was really thought provoking, well written, and worth a read for everybody. So highly recommend.
And I know it was right before the NACE conference too. That was right before your NACE conference too.
It was like a day before or something like that.
It was timing on my part.
It was great timing because it talked about the networking thing. And I was like, oh, dang it. Like, now I have to think about networking.
I'm going to try? Aww.
But I think it was really beneficial. I talked with a lot of new directors, and yeah, it was. I really liked it. So thank you for writing it. Thank you for all the time you put into it and continue to put into the space. And being an expert, because we need more of them, and you're a phenomenal one. So
I'm also potentially collaborating with some university researchers on their PhDs involving DEI and Title IX and esports.
That's cool.
One of them is in chat, and she and I are working together. I think I'm being cited in her PhD, but also there's other researchers I've been talking to that I want to get involved with and help with.
That's awesome. All right, so you are staying busy. Hopefully not too busy.
We'll talk about it later, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Later.
All right. Well, let's talk about the other fun topic, I would say, because we always got to add a little spice. And,
the popcorn material yesterday.
Yeah,
man.
exactly. It was. It's been an interesting week for Heatfest and Hue Invitational. But I want to get your thoughts so far.
So, the studio whose name I have forgotten since now, that was doing the TOing.
Chaos Creative.
Yes, they have been having a not fun time. They've been having a very not fun time.
Yeah.
A lot of mistakes that I was seeing from them are things that I did back in 2018 running my first league of 10 high schools.
Right.
It's not befitting Hue. And
yeah.
while I see a lot of the genuine intentionality behind the people who care there and everyone's trying, the radio silence the entire day, followed by the absolute storm on socials, followed by a whole bracket reset, followed by everyone having to reschedule their matches, is a bit of a catastrophe.
Right.
And other schools, the schedule's kind of okay. It's during move-in week for us as qualifiers.
Yeah.
Our first day of class is August 29th.
Oh.
So we're having a hard time.
Our first day is 24th, so we have like 1 weekend worth that we can get these in.
No, we don't. We're getting players together online. Players are returning to campus early to play, and it's a mess. But we want to play. We want to attend. We want to do our best and make sure we're doing our best in every capacity.
Right.
Because it's earned. And the players deserve the opportunity, and I want them to play it because it's an event we aspire to play.
Right.
Yes, it's going to be a hell of a drive to get there, but it's an event we aspire to play, and they deserve to play.
Right, for sure. Yeah, it's interesting because it does feel a little bit like it might be a new group of TOs. I've never heard of them before. And they've been receptive. Like, they're making changes. They're getting feedback. I think the Harrisburg people are giving their feedback and getting some things changed. I think now we can stream our matches, although we have to have their logo on there, and it has to be a 5-minute delay, etc. But they're getting there.
And what I will say is that I'm not sure if they actually were or not, but it didn't seem like they were being very receptive to feedback up until everyone got upset.
Right.
And I'm not sure if that's just optics of like, oh, we weren't awake yet or something like that, but that Discord was really good popcorn material for a while there.
Right. I think everyone would be a lot more forgiving if this was like the first year of this event, but like Hue has been going for quite a few years, and there's kind of a certain level of quality you expect, and then this year it has stumbled a bit.
But it's the first year of those TOs is the issue.
It's the first of those TOs. It's also the first year of these online qualifiers, and kind of opening it up to more people. So there's definitely some learning going on. I was in the boat. I think there was a couple people who were not happy with like how some people were calling out specific members of that TO, and I would agree with that. I don't think that was warranted at all. But I think asking for feedback and talking about some of the problems currently, I think is more than warranted in my opinion. There's just some things that just didn't make sense. So like when we applied, we had to like submit player names, Discords, in-game names, everything before they even said we were accepted. Like and our logos, like there was just so much we had to submit before we were even accepted. I'm like, this is stuff like a TO would ask for after we were accepted, and they were doing the production. Like,
I saw that whole form, and I told my guys like, they haven't announced who's officially qualified yet. So I told my guys like we got to start scrimming in case.
Yeah.
And if in case we don't get in, I'll just tell you to stop scrimming until the start of the year. Like I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been interesting. But I think most of the big problems have been fixed. At least the ones you can fix at this point.
There's some
it's
overall
just been
structure
interesting.
things.
It has been
Like,
very interesting.
and I know that we're one of the later schools in for the year, but damn, the schedule hurts.
It's messed up. Like only giving us, what do we get, 2 weeks? And,
2
and
weeks.
it's like the most busy 2 weeks of most of our year. And most of our students
move in.
Our students aren't even like set up or even on campus. Like it doesn't.
Well, to that
I
end, I love the NECC, but their registration deadline of September 1st is killing me. Because my students don't even have their schedule locked down yet.
Yeah, I think that's the same deadline for varsity premier in NACE. Actually, theirs might be like August 28th. But NACE's registration staggered. So like varsity premier is the first deadline, and then like varsity plus is the next one, and it goes until like September 16th, I think, is the last deadline. And that's for open.
Yeah.
So
and so like we're not playing NACE, so I'm lucky there, but ECAC has their signups registered finishing end of September.
Yeah.
We're playing ECAC and NECC.
Okay.
So it's a little bit lighter for us, but like, damn.
Yeah, NECC
timelines
does
are killing me.
The 2-week preseason, right? For their
that's
seeding?
a seeding preseason.
Yeah, is that required?
Yes.
Okay.
That's they seed the bracket.
Right.
Because a lot of teams, especially in fall semester, have a lot of roster shuffle.
Right.
So they use those as seeding. They do pre-seed you roughly, and they use those 2 weeks to confirm the seeding.
Got it. Yeah, I'm assuming that's why they have such an early deadline. But yeah,
at the same time, like
rough.
NECC is run very well, and I'm very happy with them.
Right.
Besides, the registration deadline is killing me.
Yeah. Well, the problem, like from a TO perspective, is like you run out of time on the other end too. If like once Thanksgiving hits, like you can't. There's exams, Thanksgiving. Like you can't schedule things past November 15th. So now you're down to like September, 2 months of competition.
And you got to fit season and playoffs in there.
Yeah, you're running out of time. It's crazy. And I don't have the solution except maybe multiple matches per week or something. But
even then, the scheduling is dicey.
It's yeah. I don't think there's an ideal solution at this point.
If this was amateur and our players were doing this like full time, scheduling is so easy.
Right.
But they're students and they have other things to do, like graduate college.
True. Make friends.
Actually enjoy the experience and not be locked in a room.
Right. Right.
Do their laundry. Please do your laundry.
They're doing their laundry at some point.
Please eat.
Yeah.
Oh, we took our facility to 24 hours for the launch of Overwatch 2.
Oh.
Because our semester finished the weekend it launched, and we had a tournament the next weekend.
Oh boy.
And so we're like, hey, you guys have a week to kill between tournaments. And you got to be here on campus doing nothing. Want to play games all day? Sure. I want to grind Overwatch 2. What a mistake. Oh my god. What happens is we ended up like I would walk in the facility at 9 a.m. for my normal morning work time, and I walked in and my player Marshall is asleep on his keyboard. He wakes up, buys a skin, goes back to sleep. And I'm just sitting like, Marshall, I love you, honey. Don't do this to me. And I check his last sent message. It was at 7:30. So he had fallen asleep at his keyboard for an hour and a half.
Oh my gosh. So what are you, as we kind of start wrapping up, what are you looking most forward to for this year?
I think that's the same as after my first year of teaching. Going into my second year, I felt basically better about everything.
Yeah.
I feel more on top of things. I feel like I have a capability to be successful. I feel like I have the ability to understand what's going on and have this whole planning, and I know what I want to do. Instead of having all those ideas that I don't really know how to execute, I know what I want to do.
Yeah.
I know how I want to do it. I know who needs to be involved in all the chess pieces that have to move. I'm on top of my team, not walking into a situation. And I just feel better overall about it.
I need to work on that. I feel more lost than I did last year. And this is my second year at Florida Southern. And it's only because like the first year I had this excuse of like, this is my first year. I'm still learning. Like I'm not going to change anything major. And now I have like all these huge ideas and expectations. And I'm like, this is the year. And I'm like, I'm just gonna be in a haze, like in a haze until maybe September. But like
I mean,
of everything, like there's just so many things you could do. And
yes. I've had to start precisely booking my Google Calendar with admin time too on specific topics. So between meetings, I have little blocks. I use blue for meeting colors, pink for admin time. And the pink blocks, I have write this email here, write this email here, write this document here to
wow,
keep myself on track. And while things don't necessarily always go to track, like I have to go talk to someone on campus or I have to go answer emails or whatever, it's mostly on track. And it helps me keep things organized.
that's awesome. I just have a to-do list, and it's organized by things I need to get done today, this week, and then this month. And that has avoided a complete feeling of overwhelmingness, but I have a lot to do. And the students are here in like a week, so
Yes, and students are here really soon, and like I got to do facility resets, and I have to I had to buy a lot of gear soon. I'm getting students trained. I'm doing hiring for student workers. We all have a lot of things going on, and I mean, so part of what I'm doing with Ecstasy Esports right now is I'm essentially the server mom because I'm the only person there with a lot of experience in esports. The rest of them are college students or like just entering their first year of college, and they have all these ideas and hopes and dreams. They want to do all these things for the league, and like they're a 1,400 person Discord in 3 weeks,
wow.
and they're doing 4 weeks, and they're doing tryouts for teams iron, iron, bronze, gold, silver, plat, diamond, immortal. They're gonna run a league in a month. And I'm like, okay.
Wow.
Like I walk into that in the admin planning. I'm like, okay. We need to change some things. And I've just been giving thoughts and admin ideas on how things should work out. And what it's come down to is I'm looking at a lot of the admin ideas I have on how they should run their organization. And I'm like, I have been doing that, haven't I? And so I think the struggle we all face is we all feel like we're not doing enough for our students. We're not doing enough for our program. We're behind on things. We're not.
I know. And I tell other people that, but I can't convince myself.
Same. Same. And like I am in the best mental state I've ever been in my life recently.
That's
like
awesome.
things have clicked and I've gone so well, and it's allowed me to see a lot of this like, oh, you're just being really harsh on yourself.
Yeah.
So like you probably said this too, just don't be harsh on yourself. We're all running this race together.
Right. Yeah, I always ask myself, like, is that expectation or goal something I put on myself that can be pushed back, or is it something from my boss? And almost every time it's from myself, and it's something that could be pushed back if needed.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of, especially new directors, really struggle, is they have all these expectations and goals for their own program, but if they really step back and ask, like, is this an expectation from my boss, or is this a goal I'm putting on myself? Maybe they could realign a little bit, but yeah, same problem. It's all coming from myself. I don't know.
And we don't need it to be this stressful. We just need it to be here.
Right.
And ensure that our first goal is to our students. And as long as we offer good experience to them, that's fine. I had a student recently where I was talking with one of my students like, hey, I know I said I know I struggled last year, and there's like things I dropped, and I want to improve that this year. And he goes, you did fine last year. I went, really? He goes, yeah, you did it. You made an effort and attempt on everything. While things didn't pan out perfectly, you still made an effort and attempt, and were there for students beyond everything else. I'm like,
that's fair.
Okay.
Fine. Yeah. That's good advice. Something I need to work on. Yeah.
We all do. Don't worry.
Here's a question. We have a question in the chat from Penny Cash. Question: as a high school coach, I reach out to colleges and love that some in my area do outreach for us, i.e., coming to coach. Is that something you think most college programs are ready to do?
So I said this in the voice Discord this week. I think every collegiate program should be involved in the high school space in some capacity. Everyone that has staff involved, like club programs or student run programs, obviously no, but anyone that has an actual adult involved should be involved in the high school space. And that's mostly because I'm the biggest like proponent of high school space out there. But it's because this like we're gonna find more students that way, but also give students opportunities to find success elsewhere,
Right.
and help students find that this exists. Even a lot of students don't know it exists,
Yeah, I agree.
and it's hard. Like, two of my best players from my high school program didn't end up going to collegiate esports because they were really good. They were really good players. One of them was a natural born leader. He shot called since his sophomore year
Nice.
for two different rosters or two different games, and he he just didn't go to college for esports because the school he's going to doesn't have it, which sucks because he has a huge future in it. And so I want to keep finding students these experiences and these opportunities, and I think every college coach should reach out to high schools. Now, the way you do that is kind of hard because high schools play Mama Bear and Papa Bear with their students, where it's like, I am not letting you talk to my kid until I vet you.
Right.
And if you don't come across as a genuine person with good intentions, I just won't let you talk to them. There were some colleges in my time in Columbia High School who I ignored. I must accept that, and because they're all great, and like a lot of the ones I talked to I'm great friends with the director now too. But there are some that I didn't because they gave me a weird vibe, and I'm like, you are not talking to my kids.
Yeah.
And so the way to get in contact with as colleges to get in contact with high schools is just be a genuine person.
Right. And that'll
don't,
look. I think what you can
Yeah.
offer and do it will look differently depending on who's in your area and where they're at. For me, in Michigan, when I was helping out the high school scene, it was answering questions about esports to high school advisors, and that was it. We ended up opening our lab once a week for Fortnite events. Down here in Florida, they have a district-wide league now with the high schools, and we hosted the championships for Rocket League in the spring, and that was all they needed and wanted. We have some conversations about helping to teach their coaches how to coach Rocket League in the future, but small steps. And
we hosted IHSA Rocket League State Finals and IHSA Rocket League State Finals this year.
Yeah, those are awesome. And not every high school area or high school in the area is going to need you to host an event. Some might need a coach. Some might need just maybe a coach's clinic or maybe a high school invitational.
Or if you have a space at your university for esports, bring schools in.
Right.
We have a combined team in town called Unit 5. The high school in town combined into one program, right. And they have their own space, but it's kind of lackluster. So when he wants to do tournament prep, he messages me saying, "Hey, can we use the Wesleyan space for one? Hell yeah, come over, let's get some pizza and have fun."
Yeah.
And awesome. I hosted Unit 5 here for just casual nights, not recruiting speech, no big campus tour, just casual nights, like 5 times last year.
I think that's way more effective from a recruiting standpoint than having something where you give a spiel. I also don't want to be the one giving a spiel. So
giving a spiel is so awkward.
It is, and the students don't remember or care. So just
nothing.
Open the space, turn on Fortnite or Valorant, and move on.
There were nothing about that whole spiel. It's just like, hey, they said words to me.
Right.
Cool.
Right. Order pizza. That sounds like gold. I feel like you probably had people signing up to join.
My favorite high school that we hosted last year is Naperville North High School and Springfield High School, both of whom I have jerseys bound back here.
Nice.
Their Overwatch teams ended up meeting in Swiss system for the last week of the season in varsity and JV.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm like, and Springfield's an hour south of here, hour and a half, and Naperville's an hour and a half north of here. And I'm best friends with both the directors. I'm like, guys want to go do a LAN for the last game of the year? And that game also had playoff implications.
Oh man, that's
the winner
so hype.
The winner of the varsity game, if Springfield had won, they would have made playoffs. Naperville was first seed, but like Naperville of course won, but
yeah,
it was just fun. We brought like 35 kids here, ordered a hilarious quantity of pizza. Oh my god, and played games for like 6 hours. And
so
I have cool pictures of people just watch parties, mixing between rosters, talking constantly. It was great.
That's so
and
cool.
Just offering cool experience for people. Our whole goal is to be here for others and offer cool experience. Do it.
That's awesome. It's a good question. I like that. But the part of the program that is most college programs ready to do? Yes, but to varying degrees. I don't think every coach is going to have the ability or even like the mental capacity to host like a tournament, but I think everyone has the ability to be a resource.
Loan out players for guest coaching.
Right. Yeah.
You did
that's
that
an
at
easy way.
Aquinas.
Yeah, we had a couple kids coaching in the local high schools. It's like
And they worked great.
they wanted to do that. I mean, they're still doing that. Some of those kids are still coaching. They're going into maybe even their third year of coaching a high school team while competing as Aquinas players. So, yeah, cool. All right, well, 6 o'clock. Well, 5 o'clock your time.
Thank you.
Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at the Rogue Cora. Please spell Rogue correctly. Thank you. And find me there, and I post things there frequently. And I'm happy to talk with anyone and everyone. DM me if you want. I can be reached anytime.
Awesome. And any last thoughts or things you want to share?
I just can't wait for the school year. I want to see my kids again.
Same. Summer on college campuses is boring.
It's so quiet.
It is. College campuses kind of suck during the summer. Not gonna lie.
Well, also Bloomington Normal is a college town.
Oh yeah.
And so the town cuts to like 3/4 of the normal population. We lose like a whole quarter, third of our population when students leave. So I can tell when move-in happens because all the restaurants get busier.
That's fair. That's exciting. Best of luck this year. I'm sure. Obviously, you said you were going to send me some messages, but thank you again for joining me. And I always appreciate our talks. They're really important. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back next week. I think next week we're going to have Doug from CDW on, and we're going to talk about the technology stuff that we should be looking out for. So thanks, everybody. Talk to you later.